This is my speech number 3. And this is my audience.
Hello again.
All right. This is a speech on Benjamin Franklin. When discussing the great founding fathers of America, who comes to mind? Well, indeed, there are George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. This group was an important part to the foundation of America. They all had important roles, either being American statesmen, the president, vice president, idealists, inventors, philosophers, diplomats, politicians, and at least one of 2 things in common, being the signers of the Declaration of Independence or the framers of the Constitution. Although this is a large group of outstanding founding fathers, there is one more to add to the list, this being Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is perhaps the most remarkable figure in the American history, as he was the greatest statesman of his age. He played a very important role in the foundation of the American public, and a pioneering scientist, a best-selling author, the country's first postmaster general, a printer, a diplomat, a ladies' man, a moralist, and the most predominant celebrity of the 18th century. All founding fathers were great in every aspect, but I feel as if Benjamin Franklin has a very interesting story to tell, and I'm here to tell it. Benjamin Franklin was born on January 6, 1705. His birthplace was the small house his parents were leasing on Milk Street, just across the street from South Church. It was a Sunday on the day of his birth, and congregation was taking place anyway. So Ben's father wrapped him up in bundles of blankets and rushed him to the church for baptism. He returned to the house off Milk Street, where he lived for 6 years. Then his father purchased a larger house at the corner of Union and Hanover Street. After some years of life, Ben's facility with the written word manifested itself early. He does not remember when he could not read. At the age of 8, Benjamin was enrolled in the town's grammar school. He had no trouble at all moving to the head of the class and was promoted midterm to the next class. Unfortunately, money had gotten a little tight around Franklin's house, so Ben was forced to drop out of the grammar school and attend the school for writing and arithmetic, ran by a man named George Brownell. Here, Ben's ways with words continued to distinguish him, but numbers, on the other hand, were not at all Ben's strength. So at age 10, his father took him out of school to help with the business, the chandler trade, which included cutting wicks for candles, filling molds, waiting on customers, and running errands about the town. Not exactly what you call a lively childhood. Imaginable, Ben loathed the trade, but had a strong fascination with the sea. Since childhood, Ben was fond of reading. His father's library was small and consisted of chiefly books and sermons, and most of which he could not read, but since then he was at a time where he had such a thirst for knowledge, he did not care and read them anyway. As a result of this, his father was determined to make a printer out of Ben. This indenture made by Ben's father bound him to his brother, who was a printer. This was sent to the last 9 years, opposed to more than a common 7-year term. Until the age of 21, Benjamin was directed to sleep, breathe, and live printing, which wasn't so bad for him. It was a way of Ben getting his hands on some real books. This life, however, was not the one for him. When Ben's brother had pretended to hand over his newspaper line to Ben because of a feud between him and another line, he had signed an official discharge of his apprenticeship. So Ben relied on this to escape from Boston. According to tradition, when American communities became too confining, it was commonly known to strike out for the frontier. We all know that Benjamin Franklin wasn't an ordinary American, though. Instead, he was intrigued by the new commercial centers like New York and Philadelphia. Each city offered a great chance to become a self-made success. Selling some of his books to pay for the fare, the 17-year-old set sail on the evening of Wednesday, September 25th, 1723. He arrived in Philadelphia 10 days after his departure. With a population of 2,000, Philadelphia was in America's second largest big village after Boston. He immediately got to work. The morning after his arrival, when he went to Andrew Bradford's shop, he had no immediate work for him, but he brought him around the town to see another printer Although it wasn't a lot of work, Ben stuck it out and lodged with Bradford for the time being. He attracted so many patrons and friends. With his clever mind and winning smile, he became a popular member of the town's young tradesmen. This was rewarding because the governor, Sir William Keith, sought out Ben and encouraged his printing. In no time at all, Franklin has set up his own business. So he planned to trip out to London so he could personally pick out the fonts and make contacts for his printing business. Franklin started a newspaper that was filled not only with short news and items and reports on public events, but also with amusing essays and letters from the readers. This newspaper gave Franklin his first success as a printer and publisher, and led him into the political discussions. With its blend of news, editorials, advertisements, and natural knowledge, the Pennsylvania Gazette expanded and flourished. Benjamin Franklin established himself with this newspaper as an important tradesman and property owner in Philadelphia. Then became of this improved situation, Franklin was able to take a wife, Deborah Rogers, and set up a respectable household which he could care for a family. This was not nearly the end of his writing career, though. In the late 1732, Franklin began to publish an almanac under Richard Saunders called Poor Richard's Almanac. It was in many ways conventional, and unlike modern almanacs, it was pamphlet-sized. Astrology was central, and the conventional man of signs illustrated the conventional wisdom in the human body. Like all earthly matter, was governed by motions of the planets. Interesting enough, Franklin was among the few colonial almanac writers who did his own astrological calculations. Poor Richard became a how-to guide for backyard astronomers. By asserting a steadily increasing amount of material from the sciences into his newspaper and almanac, Franklin had established himself as Philadelphia's main distributor of knowledge about the natural world. In addition, they both earned Franklin thousands of pounds each year. Yet this success was not enough for him, so by 1747, Franklin started something new. He was experimenting and inventing. By 1749, Franklin retired from business and started concentrating on science, experiments, and inventions. Franklin was a man of extraordinary wide interest and talents. He studied the effect of pouring oil on troubled waters and inventing the rocket chair, bifocals, and daylight savings time. He charted the Gulf Stream and was the first to suggest that the use of thermometers as an instrument of navigation, knowing the temperature of the stream, allowed one to follow it. Franklin's scientific accomplishments were commended no matter where the inventor traveled. Though Franklin never patented his inventions, he proclaimed that as we enjoy great advantages from inventions of others, we should be glad of an opportunity to serve others by any invention of our own, and this should be done freely and generously. In the early 1750s, he turned to the study of electricity. He was among the first to suggest that lightning was merely natural occurring electricity, that it could be drawn from the clouds. To prove this, he set up tall, pointed rods that provided an easy path for electricity of lightning to follow. Eventually, these pointed rods were modified to serve as lightning rods, designed to protect people's houses. By channeling the electricity of lightning strikes through a safe route to the ground, lightning rods eliminated the threat of fires. In 1752, Franklin performed his famous kite experiment with the aid of his 21-year-old son, William. The kite was constructed with a sharp metal wire put on the top, and at the end of the kite string, Franklin tied a silk ribbon with a key. On a stormy day, lightning struck the kite, and electricity streamed down toward the key, presenting the final proof of lightning's electric nature. Franklin continued to provide important contributions to the study of electricity, which eventually won him the important Copley Medal from the Royal Society of London in 1753. In 1764, Franklin lost his seat in the Pennsylvania Assembly. However, he returned to England as Pennsylvania's agent. While he was away, relations between Great Britain and its American colonies grew strained. Great Britain had gained vast new territories in North America, never minding its war with France. Unfortunately, this war drained British funds, and to pay for this, the British government